All right, so this is our lesson for Tuesday, April 7th. Today, the students will be able to determine the approximate measure of an angle to the nearest whole by using a protractor. But before we get into our protractor use, I just want to go back over the different types of angles that you might see. We have a right angle that measures exactly 90 degrees. We have an obtuse angle that measures greater than 90 but less than 180 degrees. And then we have an acute angle, which is the smallest one, and it measures less than 90 all the way to 1. And we also have a straight angle, which is just a straight line, and that measures 180 degrees. And this is an anchor chart here that just kind of shows the different types of angles that you might see. The way that they're drawn a little bit differently. This is available on our website as well as in your Google Classroom. This anchor chart is available for you to see. So when we are measuring an angle or we're reading an angle with a protractor has two parts. It has one number line that starts at the bottom and then another number line that starts at the top. So when you're looking at this, when I look right here, this is my 0 point. This is where I'm starting right here at my 0, right where my little dot is. And so where you would start measuring, or if you were placing this over an angle to measure, you would put this part here. There's a little hole right here, and you put that at the vertex, or where your two rays meet of your angle. So if my angle opens this way to the right, then I'm going to start at the 0 here. If my angle were to measure or were to open up going this way, then I would go ahead and read from this side over here. It just depends on which way your angle is opening up to. So I want to always make sure that I am finding my 0 and starting. So since my angle is starting this way, I'm going to start at my 0, and then I'm just going to count up to where I see the second ray. So here I'm at 50, so it's in between 50 and 60. So now I'm going to kind of look here. Well, what's in between 50 and 60? If it's on that halfway point, is 55. So I know that the measure of this angle is 55. Now, if you were to start reading it here on the top, it would make it a little bit harder to figure out what it is. You could count up, you could subtract 125 and 180 here. This is 125 degrees. And this is 180 degrees right here. And then you would have to subtract those two. You would have 180 minus 125. And it would still give you 55. But it's just easier to start at the 0 when you're going there. And you can count your way up. I could count by 5s here. In between, these are 5s. So it just depends on, if I start on the bottom, I'm going to keep reading on the bottom. If I start on the top row of my protractor, then I'm going to have to keep reading on the top, because I can't start here at 0 and then come up here to 125. That's not the measure of this angle. So be careful that you are reading wherever you start. You need to finish on that same number line. So when I look at this angle right here, I see that it's opening up to the right. So I'm going to find where the 0 is, and the 0 is on the bottom. So now I'm just going to start at this 0 with the first ray at 0, and I'm going to just go right on up. So it's in between my 50 and my 60. So what is in between 50 and 60? Well, it's 51. It's 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, all the way to 60. And that's what we see right here on these lines. Every time we move over, that is a 1 degree turn. So I'm looking right here between 60 and 50. And if I'm right here at 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55. So I know that the measure of this angle is 55 degrees. And I want to make sure that I put my degree sign on there as well. Now, if you were to start here at the 180, you could do the same thing. You would have to subtract. You can count up, but it just makes it easier to start at your 0. When I look at this other angle, now here it is, it's starting to the left. So my 0 is at the top. So the number line that I'm reading is the top row. I'm reading the top row of my number line. So now when I look at this, here is my first ray at 0, and my second ray is right over here. Well, it's in between 70 and 80, and it's not right on that midway point, so I need to count each individual spot. 70, 71, 72, 73, 74. So I know that the measure of this angle is 74 degrees, and I will go ahead and I would write that in. So again, whichever way my angle is opening up to, and that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to find my 0 point, and I'm just going to go and count up. Now you might ask, well, what happens if it doesn't start at 0? So let's say that we have this angle right here. If I have this angle here, I'm going to go from one ray to the other, and then I'm going to count in between. So here I have 64. I already know that this is, excuse me, not 64. Excuse me. This is 74 degrees. I'm going to label that as 74 degrees. And then I'm just going to see where it ends right here. Well, it's not right on that 120 line. So this is 119 degrees. You might ask, how did I see that this was 119 degrees? Well, I read that this was 74 on the top number line, so I'm just going to go over and see where it ends. So now with this one, I could count over, or I could just subtract 119 minus 74. So then I would solve my equation. 9 minus 4, there's more on the bottom. Excuse me, there's more on the top, so I can just go ahead. 9 minus 4 is 5. And then 1 minus 7, there's more on the bottom, so I need to regroup. That 1 becomes a 0. This one now becomes 11. So 11 minus 7 is 4. So now I know that the measure of this angle is 45 degrees. And I can count over, I can. So let's see, I could count. It just makes it a little bit harder when you're counting over, because you want to make sure that you are counting the correct spot. If you have any more questions about angles, we're going to go over it again tomorrow. But refer back to this. You can send me a message and I will help you out some more.